A major international development is unfolding around the Biafra question after Israeli strategic advisor Noga Abel publicly called for the freedom of Biafra and urged Israel to challenge Britain over what she described as its continuing support for Nigerian control of the region. The remarks, delivered during a program held on Israel's Channel 14 on August 14, 2026, have been welcomed by the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, which described the broadcast as one of the most significant developments in the history of its international campaign for Biafran independence. For a movement that has spent years taking the Biafra question beyond Nigerian borders, the Israeli intervention represents a powerful new moment. IPOB is now presenting the development as evidence that the Biafran issue is gaining recognition within influential Israeli political and media cycles. And at the center of the controversy is one striking message from Abel, that is, it is time for Israel to help Biafra regain control of its land. Speaking on Channel 14, Abel, identified as a former official of Israel's foreign minister, said a representative of the Igbo people of Biafra had recently contacted Israel. She described the contact as a very big and exciting event and directly connected the Biafran struggle to Britain's historical role in Nigeria.
This is a very, very moving event. A person living in Biafra contacted us not long ago. You came out from under Nigerian occupation. There are areas that are in Biafra, Jews and Christians under Muslim rule. The time when we were freed from them. They are looking for Jews. This was in Nigeria. Help them. Call for an alliance with Biafra. Control the places where they live. We will help. The Nigerians in Biafra. In Biafra, thankfully, this is a good development.
וזה הגיע הזמן שאנחנו נעזור להם לקחת בחזרה את השליטה במקומות שבהם הם יושבים. במקרה הזה בביאפרה, מדינת ישראל מוזמנת לקרוא לבריטים להפסיק לתמוך בקולוניאליזם הניגרי בביאפרה ולשחרר את יהודי ונוצרי ביאפרה בשעה טובה.
According to Abel, Biafra has remained under Nigerian control for decades with British support, which she characterized as part of continued colonial influence. She then called on Israel to engage Britain and demand that London stop supporting what she described as Nigerian colonialism in Biafra. Her remarks also placed significant emphasis on the religious identity of the people she said were being affected, referring to Jews and Christians in Biafra and calling for their protection. Abel's intervention immediately resonated with IPOB. Rachel Mosu, IPOB's Israel-based representative, described the broadcast as the single most significant breakthrough in Biafra's diplomatic history. In her reaction, Mosu declared that Israel has spoken and argued that the Jewish state, because of its own historical experience of subjugation, should stand with Biafra. She said the Channel 14 program had moved beyond an ordinary discussion of Biafra and had opened a new diplomatic dimension to the struggle. According to Mosu, the program amounted to a call for the Israeli government to formally intervene, engage Britain, and demand an end to its alleged support for Nigeria over Biafra. For IPOB, the significance of the broadcast is also connected to developments that took place only weeks after. In July 2026, an IPOB delegation traveled to Israel and was received by members of the Knesset, Israel's parliament. The delegation, led by IPOB's Director of State under Mazi Chris Mwogu, was received by Knesset Deputy Speaker Nassim Vaturi and Deputy Chairman of the Knesset and Foreign Affairs and Security Committee member Limo Son Hal-Makil. IPOB described that engagement as a milestone in its peaceful international diplomatic outreach. The organization said the meetings created an important platform for representing its position on Biafra directly to Israeli lawmakers. The issue of Nnamdi Kanu was also raised during the engagement. IPOB has constantly made Kanu's detention a central part of its international campaign. The group has argued that his continued imprisonment represents a major human rights and political issue connected to the wider Biafran struggle. The organization now views the July Knesset engagements and the August Channel 14 broadcast as connected developments. In its reaction to the Israeli program, IPOB said the latest development demonstrated that its diplomatic outreach was entering a new phase. The group described Biafra as a potential secure homeland for persecuted Judeo-Christians across Nigeria and argued that Israel's growing attention to the issue could create a new international platform for the Biafran cause. IPOB further stated that the Channel 14 discussion had given greater visibility to its long-standing claims about political and religious persecution in the region. The organization said the language used during the program closely reflected arguments it has made for years about the political status of Biafra and the role of Britain in Nigeria. That, according to IPOB, makes the broadcast particularly significant. The group believes the Israeli discussion has moved the Biafra issue from being primarily a Nigerian political question into a matter attracting increasing international attention. And this is where the latest development takes on a much larger meaning. For decades, the Biafra question has remained one of the most emotionally charged political issues in Nigeria. The declaration of the Republic of Biafra in 1967 triggered a devastating civil war that lasted until 1970. But the separatist aspiration did not disappear after the war. Over the years, different groups have continued to advocate for greater autonomy or independence for the Southeast and other territories associated with the Biafran identity. IPOB has become one of the most prominent organizations associated with the modern Biafran independence campaign. Its strategy has increasingly included international advocacy, diplomatic outreach, media engagement, and attempts to build relationships with political figures outside Nigeria. The Israeli connection is therefore being presented by IPOB as a major expansion of that strategy. The organization believes that Israel's historical experience and its global diplomatic influence make the country an especially important partner in bringing international attention to the Biafran question. Mosu's statement captured the mood within the organization when she declared that the Channel 14 broadcast represented a major turning point. IPOB also argued that the program had created momentum following the Knesset meetings and could form part of what he described as a coordinated diplomatic campaign. The group said the objective is to ensure that the Biafran question receives sustained international attention and that foreign governments engage directly with the issues raised by the movement. The message from IPOB is therefore unmistakable. The Biafran struggle is no longer being presented solely as a domestic Nigerian issue. It is increasingly being taken to international institutions, foreign lawmakers, and global media platforms. The Channel 14 broadcast has now added another powerful platform to that campaign. For IPOB supporters, the timing could not be more significant. The July meetings in Israel opened a diplomatic conversation. The August television broadcast has now amplified that conversation before a much wider audience. And with an Israeli strategic advisor publicly calling for Biafra's freedom and urging Israel to challenge Britain over its role in Nigeria, IPOB believes a new chapter has begun. The organization has described the developments as the opening phase of a broader international diplomatic offensive. Its supporters see the Israeli intervention as a historic moment that could give the Biafran independence campaign greater international visibility. The message coming from the movement is clear. The campaign for Biafra is moving beyond the streets, beyond local political debates, and increasingly into the international arena. And as IPOB continues its diplomatic outreach, the latest Israeli development could become one of the most important moments yet in its effort to internationalize the Biafran question. For the movement, the significance is not simply that Biafra was discussed on Israeli television. It is that the discussion came with a direct call for action, a call for Israel to stand with Biafra, a call for Britain to end what was described as its support for Nigerian control, and a call for the international community to pay closer attention to the Biafran struggle. IPOB has welcomed that message as a historic breakthrough. And now, following the NISET engagement and the Channel 14 broadcast, the organization is signaling that its international campaign for Biafran independence has entered a new and potentially decisive phase. If you find this report informative, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notification so you don't miss our latest international reports. I'm Chidera Isom. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next reports.